Hello, hello, and welcome to the Sweaty Casuals podcast, episode 7. As you can see, once more, Zion has died. Rip. I know that thousands around the world are in mourning right now that at his death. Even us, right here. Absolutely in shock. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to push the podcast, but let's be fair, we are not pushing shit because Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out tomorrow. Fuck yeah. And everybody's hyped about that.
Demonetized.
No. We're fine. Shut up. So anyway, Zion's not here, but Funky is. Say hello, Funky.
Hello, I can finally respond to everything now.
No. And so is Koshi, who is not dead. You know, we
Only on the inside.
It'd be nice if we could just once trade out Zion for Koshi one day. You know? Then I wouldn't have to hear him.
What.
Then I wouldn't have to hear him speak. Huh?
Part of me wants that too.
Yeah, in fact. They say, Funky, we've eventually pulled him over to our side.
No. I wouldn't mind getting out of this chicken shit outfit.
I think
Anyway.
that will happen when once Paralives. Oh no, what is it? Life and You or whatever
Life
the
by
thing.
You.
Life by You. That's it. Drops. That's when we're gonna not see Koshi for a couple of weeks if it ends up being good.
What the fuck is Life by You?
It's
Oh, it's that Sims crap, isn't it?
Excuse me.
It's like The Sims, isn't it?
It's better than The Sims.
It's a similar
get
thing
me
though.
off my Sims addiction.
Let's see what
By
you did
giving
there,
you
Gavin.
another addiction?
Yeah, that's how it works, right?
So it's like trying to
It's
cure
like you
your
would World
coke
of
addiction
Warcraft.
with meth.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be talking. You're still
Wow.
sub to Warcraft.
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Did you finally grow smart?
I let it run out. I don't give a shit.
Are you ever
Alright.
gonna? Just curious. Are you ever gonna introduce yourself in the podcast
Of course
so
not.
people know who's talking, so they can
Oh.
avoid them?
Okay.
He's the Golden Gargler. We
It's-
all know that.
It's.
Oh, right.
I mean,
right.
it's on my channel, and I would assume that they know who I am already.
How do they know that you're just not hosting it for someone else?
Who would I be hosting it for?
Uh,
What am I, a stand-in? I'm gonna just leave the
PewDiePie.
stage and get and
I mean,
hand
yeah.
over?
Yeah, you are kind of a stand-in.
All right, fuck you.
I mean, you're less racist than PewDiePie, but
I don't know about
I'm
that.
not sure about that. He is English.
Yeah,
good point.
the French. Grr. Damn those baguette lovers.
But don't forget
I
the
like
gingers and the Scottish and the Irish.
No, we like the Scots. It's the Irish we don't
Hmm.
like.
Oh, I think the feeling is a bit mutual.
But we love the Scottish people, or at least I mean, I'm from the north of England, so we love the Scottish. The south of England probably has a different opinion on that, but they're
Yeah, those are the
losers,
true.
so-
Those are the true racists,
Yeah.
because they're racist towards their own country as well.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Oh my God, a foreigner! They live three districts away from me. Go back to your own country.
No, it's more like they live
Out
like
of
3
town-
doors down
county.
from me.
Yeah.
They're in the same shit I am, but let's just have a fucking go at them anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta do something. It's that and lining up for queues, right? So,
Yeah, and
Disclaimer,
complaining
it
and
really-
complaining.
and not using spices.
Disclaimer: it really helps to be
Hey.
drunk when you're listening to this podcast.
Hey, we have salt and pepper, all right? That's all we need.
And whoosh, sauce.
Worcestershire.
Yeah, yeah. And
Whoosh-
Cockermouth.
What?
What'd you say, Rob?
Something about cocking it.
Yeah, Cockermouth. That's in
Cock in your
Cumbria.
mouth.
Yeah. I went on vacation.
Fuck.
One.
It just writes itself, doesn't
one-
it? It's
one time-
Cockermouth in Cumbria.
Yeah.
Britain
Yeah,
is
it's lovely there. It's lovely there.
Britain is a nation of sexually repressed people who just take it out by naming things sexually sounding. Like
Fair.
cock.
Or just like, how the fuck are you supposed to pronounce this? But that's also, but then you go to Wales and suddenly English starts making more sense.
Welsh is that's moon language. We don't talk
Yeah.
Welsh. No, even the Welsh don't talk Welsh. That's how fucked up their language is.
Yeah. True.
You know, one word comes to mind right now,
What?
and it's riveting, as in what this podcast is not.
Yeah, but you
Alright,
are
then.
right. It is not about riveting
Yeah, it's
because
true.
we none of us are mechanics, so we
It's
can't
true. Yeah,
really
this is a
discuss it.
this is a primarily gaming podcast with a little bit of geekery
Yeah.
thrown in. So I'm glad you've caught up to us, though, Koshi. It's
Yeah.
nice to see that you're on board with how this thing goes now. Maybe you can actually contribute something to an episode at some point. Then
Oh, should I be racist then? Is that what you're telling me to be?
Yeah. Yeah,
no,
that is exactly what we're saying.
no. I would joke about it, but he's an asshole who will fucking say something dumb. So, like, we've
True.
already Zion isn't here, so we can at least avoid the hard fucking words. But Koshi will drop something that'll sound similar. I'm sure of it. He's a little bit more subtle about it, which is strange for Koshi, but you know.
Are you? All I'm hearing right now is a challenge.
No, it is not a challenge. Do not take it as a goddamn challenge. Certainly
Hey,
not.
that's your mistake there, Gannon. You should have just said it and moved past it and gone to the next topic and not given
No.
him,
You
like, an
were the one that
explanation.
fucking egged him on, and I had to intervene and say no, none of that. Come on, Koshi, what do you want to talk about this week?
Do you want
Well,
to
I've
talk
got-
about Trump being indicted yet
Yeah,
again?
the stage is yours, Koshi. Go for it.
Okay. All right. I've got
you
some
want to
news.
you want to make it riveting?
Mhm.
Then go fucking ahead. It's all yours.
All right. Let's move past the racism topic, because riveting as it is. You know, for the gaming podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got some news.
All right.
If I'm allowed to, you know, pass it on in this gaming podcast. But
Hurry
not
up
all
with
of it
it.
is gaming. Actually, majority of it is I guess we would consider it television or movies. But since I'm talking, I will begin by saying I'm still playing the Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid, one of my favorite games of all time. I'm kind of in a holding pattern right now because I'm waiting for Baldur's Gate 3 to drop. If you're listening to this
Why?
live,
Why is it taking you so long to complete that game?
it's a pretty big fucking game.
Is it like 3 weeks worthy of a big game though?
Um,
It had to go into work early though. That
all
one
right.
time.
So
At one time, yeah.
the game,
Known as.
The Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Solid 5, which is actually not 5, it's actually 6, but I digress. Uh,
Yeah, but Konami.
well, no, Hideo, but I digress again. It's pretty expansive. I would say it's almost as big as like Red Dead or uh Elden Ring. Maybe not as big as those, but you can fly through the game just doing the missions, but you're only going to experience like 50% of the game. There's so much to do in the game. It's so big. But then
Okay.
again, I only play on my days off when I'm not at work. So I'm only playing 3 days a week. And even then I'm only playing a couple hours a day.
Okay.
I think the first run time I did, it took me like 100 hours to S rank every mission. Self boast there. S rank every mission, and I didn't even complete it. I was like 98% complete because I didn't catch all the animals. And now I'm at 35%, I believe, right now, restarting it. But I am taking my time with it because I'm waiting for Baldur's Gate 3 to drop tomorrow. I'm waiting for Starfield to drop next month, excuse me.
Next week, Jesus.
Yeah, I wish. But that said, I'm kind of, like I said, I'm in a holding pattern. I'm just having fun, taking my time, 100%ing the game. So I don't really have much news on that front, but when it comes to entertainment news, I'm your
Yeah.
guy. First up, I have four.
Koshi,
I have.
though,
Go ahead.
just with the Phantom Pain, just want you to know that the true ending any percent is at 3 hours and 38 minutes for the speed run record. So
Yeah, but that's like saying Breath of the Wild. You
I
can
know, I
beat
know,
it.
I know.
You can beat it in like 2 hours, but are you really experiencing the game?
Yes.
Shut up. I do have 4 comments to make. News bits, if you will.
Is one about the Switch 2 leak?
No, because
Okay.
that's horseshit.
Wait, what?
Yes.
As the leak isn't horseshit, but what they're leaking is horseshit. If that makes sense. I think they're taking a step backwards.
Yeah, and you don't want to leak
The
horseshit.
hell
Let's
is the
be honest.
Switch
Exactly.
2?
So they're
It's the next one of the Switches.
yeah, it's the next Nintendo's next console, and it's going to be like basically the Switch 2, but they're making basically all the same mistakes that they made with the Switch. I'm not saying that the Switch is bad, but it's definitely got some things that hold it back. And it's never going to be a Starfield thing you're going to play on Starfield, or a console you're going to play with
But they've
Call of
never
Duty or
been, to be
something.
honest.
It's going to be another Animal Crossing console or another Metroid console, and those are good. But tell me, Ganon, how
Yeah.
awesome would it Breath of the Wild had been, or even the latest release, which again, killed it in the reviews. Was it Twilight? No, what was it? What was the name of the
Tears of
last one?
Tears
Tears of
of
the
the
Kingdom.
something.
Tears of the Kingdom. How good would those games have been if they were 60 FPS, high res graphics, but with the same gameplay and same love that Nintendo puts in their games?
Sure.
No, that would have been shit.
Yep, there you go. You heard it from Funky. So instead of getting that, we're gonna get more barely able to hold 30 FPS.
So then
Running into RAM requirements nonstop. It's like, come on, Nintendo. Like you definitely your mind is bigger than what your console
So
can perform.
what the fuck? What the fuck is the point in making a Switch 2 then if they're not making any improvements?
Well, they are
So
making some
so they,
improvements,
so they
but
can actually run their older games how they wanted them
there
to
you go.
run.
They're gonna make the games so they can run everything that's out now better. But then all the games that are coming out next year or in 2 years are gonna run like shit like they are now.
At
They're
least
just
from what
making the
I'm
same mistake.
gathering, if and these are leaks, so it might not even be anything
That's true. It
true
is
of it.
rumor. It is rumor.
But I just feel like this is because everybody wanted a Switch HD. I feel like 2 is pretty much going to be the Switch HD versus an actual really Switch 2. But it's going to be Switch 2, so they can resell you the older games for still full price,
Pretty
even if
much.
the games are 30 years old.
Jesus
I mean, if you
Christ.
think about it, Nintendo is a big troll. Everyone was
Yeah,
asking for a Switch HD, and what did they do? They literally released a Switch
that is weaker.
Lite. Switch Lite.
Yeah,
It's in the title, Switch Lite.
Switch
It's like, come on,
Zero.
guys, really? Whatever. Anyway, uh, so the news I have for this week, the biggest news that occurred to me that I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with a small one. Baldur's Gate 3 will have Twitch drops starting tomorrow when the game launches,
Yeah,
Champ.
for all week. I don't think they're worth it. It's basically just one outfit set, and it looks like shit.
Yeah, but
exactly.
free
But
to
That's
hey,
play.
why I
if you're
wanted
if you're completionist, or if you just have to have everything
it.
available in the game, there you go.
Satoshi, you don't think your Bard is gonna look super dapper in that outfit?
No, I don't,
Okay, fair enough.
because I'm a bard, not a jester.
Wait, there's a
But just to let
difference.
you guys know, there will be Twitch drops.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
That's a small one. The second one is also kind of small, but it does lead into the third one. Mandalorian season 4 may not be happening. This show may be done.
What? Why?
Yes. A couple reasons. One, because of the ongoing strike. Two, because of Pedro Pascal's super popularity. He's harder. Excuse me. I did. He's harder to get on set, and so in season 3, it was revealed he was actually only the voice. He wasn't in the suit at all.
Mm-mm-mm.
And while there's nothing really
Okay.
wrong with that, it's kind of disheartening when you see, the Mandalorian starring Pedro Pascal and he's just the voice. He's not even physically there.
Yeah.
Plus, they kind of ended it in a spot where it could potentially be the series finale. So right now it's kind of like on hold. Like they don't know what they want to do with it. They want to continue.
I
Yeah.
would say just hire Liam's Hemsworth and have him
Oh, for fuck's
play
sake.
the guy with it, but then still keep Pedro Pascal as the voice actor.
I will say this is all early news. No one knows for sure what's happening next year or in 2 months. They could announce Mandalorian season
Yeah.
4,
I could
or
see
they
I
might
could
not.
see either or, because
Yeah,
obviously the streaming service isn't working out and Disney is bleeding money everywhere because they're not really having the success that they wanted to. Well, obviously they're still having some successes, but they're not making the billions of dollars with their movies anymore,
yeah.
which they were kind
They're
of booking on
they're
for at
they're
least.
gonna have to they're gonna have to rebranch because
Yeah.
they were counting on Marvel and Star Wars to carry the streaming service, but then they forgot that they needed actual content out of that,
And
and
good content
and
for some of
good
those.
content for the most part, and they kind of really didn't do that. I mean,
Yeah.
as of this time,
Star Wars is fine, but I feel Marvel really dropped the ball streaming
as of
wise.
this time, right now, is Indiana Jones even available on Disney Plus? Because when I had Disney Plus, Indiana Jones was not available,
I
and
have
I
no
live in
idea.
America.
Do you mean the new one or just
Just any of them.
in general?
Like,
I
there's
have no
so
idea.
much content that Disney owns that is not on Disney Plus. It's staggering.
And the fact that there aren't I think it's their Secret Invasion bullshit thingy
Yeah.
that is also showing on Hulu in America as well. So they're kind of
Yeah.
not even like that, but
If they were
yeah,
smart, and they're not, what they should do is keep all their adult, and I don't mean porn, I just mean
yeah,
adult
Yeah, yeah,
situations.
yeah.
Keep all
the
their
Fox
adult
stuff.
stuff on Hulu,
Yeah,
and keep all their family oriented stuff on Disney Plus.
yeah,
But for some reason, they're just kind of doing like a mix of both. And like for example, I'm looking for Indiana Jones on Disney Plus. It is not on Disney Plus yet, unless I'm wrong, and I'm sure Seth will let me know.
mm,
But like the young adventures of Indiana Jones, there's like what 30, 40, 50 episodes that they own that is not on Disney Plus. That right there is already a travesty. They don't have any of the Indiana Jones movies on there. I don't think they're going to bring anything Indiana Jones on until Dial of Destiny comes on Disney Plus, which it will.
mm, yeah,
So I mean, it's like who's running the streaming service and what are you guys doing?
yeah.
Just get like anyone who has an elementary school, you know, education, and they'll be able to understand better than what you guys are doing and fix it for you.
Plus, this is then towards not their defense, but kind of to keep Mandalorian going. As- That is one of what uh, I think that and maybe Andor is a reason to resubscribe
Yeah.
to Disney Plus, because I can't really think of anything else worth subscribing. But then I've never had Disney Plus, but everything else that I've seen is I'm kind of like, at least,
Uh,
and I'm kind of excluding myself because I'm not really that interested in those shows either. But just the average viewer, I think if they want to see something good that is worth subscribing to, I think it's probably Mandalorian and Andor, but everything else is just kind of like, well, if
Was,
you have it, you might as well watch it. But I wouldn't subscribe for it.
was Andor getting a season 2?
Yes,
I believe so. Yeah,
it
Uh,
is.
Has that been postponed as well then?
I'm
I
assuming so.
let me double check, but I don't remember. But I do know it was filming. Let me
I was it
see.
filming already? Oh, I assumed it was just still writing and everything like that.
Do.
That's why I also just assumed that it wasn't.
Maybe it hasn't started filming yet, but I think it was in pre-production. But I can't find if the writer strike has messed it up or not.
Yeah, I
Uh,
would assume so. Just mainly just from everything else that it's messed up versus actual facts.
but that said, there will be a Andor season 2, and there will also be, but this is also on hold right now, but it is official. This goes into my third news bit of the day. They are making a Lando series with the guy from Community who was Lando in the Han Solo film.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
they're
It
bringing
pretty
was,
back
from what I'm
him
told, it was good.
and like all the people that were on the set for that film
Mm.
into a series.
nice.
From what I told, he was the only good thing about that one. So
I feel like I was the only person who somewhat enjoyed the Han Solo movie.
yeah, but I'll be honest, I haven't. The best I've heard of is
Like, it wasn't amazing, but it was
yeah.
like it was decent enough. I enjoyed it when I went to see it.
I never actually seen it.
I felt like the pacing of it was a bit off, but I still enjoyed the content.
I think it kind of suffered from. Did we really need this syndrome?
Yeah,
Well, their original idea at the time was to make a film based on each of the legendary characters. They're gonna have one of Yoda, one of Boba Fett, one of
Yeah,
Han Solo, and then after the Han Solo one tanked because
yeah,
you
they
know
scrapped them.
Star Wars fatigue. They had just launched what was the eighth film called?
Oh, Last Jedi.
Yeah, The Last Jedi, and then that was like very decisive. And then
Oh,
3 months later,
is it not Rise the
Solo
Skywalker?
premiered.
No, that's the
No,
ninth one.
Oh, yeah, I don't fucking know. Don't care.
then and 3 months later, Solo premiered, and
And they were also very fighting against the criticism and just giving
Well, didn't they release?
stupid excuses why.
Didn't they also release Solo at a really stupid fucking time? Like, wasn't it competing against something that was way bigger?
I don't remember.
I
Could
remember
be.
But I
something
just
like that.
remember it didn't perform in the box office, which is sad because there were a
Isn't it
lot of
the
good
first
performances
Star
in
Wars
it.
movie that either barely broke even or lost money?
Yes, it was. Which is a shame because the guy who played Solo, I
Mhm.
forget his name, something Emmerich, I think.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Uh,
Roland Emmerich, but that's definitely not
yeah, it's not him. Who, by the
it.
way, is in Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
He did a really good job as Solo, from what I heard.
Yeah, I liked him. I thought he was. He had that kind of like. He had the right attitude down, even if he didn't like look like Han Solo. But come on, like obviously they weren't gonna get someone who looks exactly
Yeah.
like fucking
Yeah.
Harrison Ford. But I feel like he definitely had that kind of like swagger and like lone ranger type attitude going on. But
I
like,
think having never. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
but like, you're right. It's like a lot of people were sitting there thinking, "Did we really need this movie?" But I was
Yeah.
just happy to have more stories in the Star Wars universe. That's because that's all it did for me. It wasn't like, "Do I need this?" It was more like, I'm happy just to have more stories that are not focused on the Skywalkers. Like I just want to see
Yeah.
more stuff in that universe because it is a vast universe that they've created. Like over the years, the extended universe as well. Obviously, that they take some from that every now and again. Like I just want to see more uh of the common like the non-force users. You know, just
Yeah.
because it's a kind of a gritty sci-fi universe when it comes down to it. When you at least when you get into that sort of like criminal underworld kind of stuff. There's definitely a lot of interesting stories they can tell in the Star Wars universe, but they've just they've never taken advantage of it.
I think it was mainly. I don't think it was so much the actors. It was just
Definitely not
an
the
okay
actors.
movie, an okay movie at best. Then let's assume Koshi is right, and I believe he is. But launching a little bit after Rise of Skywalker, the not so much the actors, but the producers of Rise of Skywalker and Kathleen Kennedy and everything, just like pretty much calling everybody who had criticism of the Last Jedi, you were either a racist, you hated women, or you're a nerd living in your mom's basement, even if you had valid crit. Then there's obviously some dumb people that a girl and everything like that. But there's obviously also a lot of valid criticism, and they were kind of alienating people in general with that. And then like an okay movie comes out where just like where the general consent is like, do we need this? And well, people spoke, and no, they don't. But it's good to see. I always forget. It's Donald Glover, right? I always.
Yeah, Donald Glover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I always forget if it's which one is Donald and which one is Don Glover. I know
I
he's good, so I'm hoping it does at least well for them.
uh I had something I was gonna say, but I can't remember what it was now. So unless it pops up randomly, I'll move on to my fourth and last bit,
Ooh.
which is
Wait,
probably
wait,
the one I'm most excited for. Unless you have anything else to say, Gannon.
Solo came out just after Infinity War. And Deadpool 2 also came out around the same time. That's why it was like that was
Was
those two.
Infinity War that late?
Yeah, those were like fucking huge movies to be competing against for
Yeah.
such a niche kind of Star Wars story in the universe. So
That's
they definitely I feel like that I feel like
2011.
Solo maybe would have had better success if they had just not released it so close to such big releases. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, but even then, I don't think it would have. Like,
I don't
I
think
don't
about
think it may have not lost it, but it wouldn't have moved the needle much.
no, but like I don't think anybody was really expecting it to be groundbreaking. But I don't think they were. I mean, Disney obviously certainly weren't expecting it to be a flop, and it shouldn't have been a flop. I think they just released it at the wrong time. Anyway, sorry.
No,
Keep on going, Koshi.
you're the only one that's seen it, so I can't really judge too much.
Yeah.
The last thing I have is what I'm actually excited for, and you guys may have heard of it, but if in case you haven't, and for all the thousands of listeners at home,
Hey, Seth.
hi Seth. NASA will begin its streaming service
What?
later this year or early next year. They will be streaming lots of documentaries on different planets and space travel in general. They'll be doing
Well, why
home
not? Why
movies.
why won't they be streaming it on Earth?
They will be streaming home movies that are taken on shuttles and the International Space Station.
I'm glad
They
he's
will
didn't
be showing
acknowledge you.
live streams of rockets taking off, and as well as just orbiting our flat Earth that we live on. Maybe you'll
uh,
see the turtles underneath. I don't know. It sounds pretty amazing, and they're also going to document and live stream the inevitable. Excuse me.
collapse.
The inevitable planned mission to Mars.
Yeah. So what's the
And I
difference?
should say this:
We'll
it
be
is ad
dead before that
free.
happens.
It's free. It's ad free,
Okay.
and you'll be able to get it on any of the current streaming platforms like Roku, Apple,
All right.
Fire
All right.
Stick from Amazon. Yeah,
No, that's
I'm
good.
actually excited for this.
No, that's good that it's free, and because I was just wondering, like, what's the difference between this and their YouTube live streams and everything like that.
That's
But
basically what they're doing is they're
so
taking their
so
live
you
streams and
pretty
putting
much
them
have
in one
a
spot.
yeah, you have a dedicated spot to go to. You know, no, that's good. That makes more sense.
I
And
could
the
see
movies
myself
kind of thing.
I could easily see myself like late night gaming, just having it on in the background and watching like the space station orbiting Earth, and
Oh,
or or watching a live rocket launch, or
yeah,
just
those
like
I tend to be, but
yeah.
those are really cool. But what's fun to somewhat see, I don't want to say mute, but on relatively low is while you're like playing a chill game or something like that. This is assuming you have two monitors, of course, which we all do, or at least you have. I think you have widescreen and a second monitor, but I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Anyway, like on one screen you have the like when they go do a spacewalk,
Mhm.
and on the other end, it's usually for me it's something like a Rim World or a Captains of Industry or a Factory or anything like that, where and then just watching it happen, that's always pretty fascinating and pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I
I'm down
guess
for that.
to do. I mean, if they, I feel like the fact that it's free is the only reason why it's good. To be honest,
Oh yeah, they should. I mean, if they were charging money for it,
Wait. Because it's free is the only reason it's good.
as in, it would be very very silly of them to charge for it. Is what I'm saying. Like,
especially because they're paid by the American
yeah, true.
government.
I mean, yeah, but what? When has that ever stopped?
I mean, there is
From
also iPlayer, so yeah, I guess fair point.
like, if they had like tried to charge money up front, I don't think they would have gotten much interest in it. Because then it would have been like, well, why not just stick it on like Netflix or whatever, and just have your own little category for it.
Yeah, I think, or just, I mean, that plus, I'm assuming they have their own app, but if you kind of do that and you have your app on your phone, so you kind of get blog information through that as well and everything, it could
Yeah,
be a good thing. So you don't have to. I mean, it still kind of counts as the same, but you don't have to go through the entire site looking for the right thing and hope it isn't
yeah,
named too technically, so you don't fuck up because you don't have the knowledge of a engineer kind of thing, which sometimes happens. Like, oh, this comma thingy, and then you look common and you get like, yeah, never mind. I'll figure it out later.
yeah. I'm guessing that they wanted to. I suspect that people wanting to watch it have basically said, look, it being on YouTube is a fucking annoying hassle. So just put it on your own service so it's easier to find. So that you don't have to
Yeah,
go searching through like or trying to win the algorithm as NASA. Because obviously NASA's not
and
gonna put
better and
in
yeah,
NASA's not gonna sit there and like play the YouTube game just to get
and
the
probably just
space
better
launches to
quality as
the
well.
so yeah, true that.
Because I'm assuming if you're at least for Netflix and Amazon and Apple TV, like you can get a lot better quality.
Yeah,
Obviously, for the live streams, that's gonna be something else, especially because
uh,
depending on which one, it might be literally in outer space. So I'm not expecting the best quality there, but
I
for
need
just in general for their movies and documentaries and everything like that, getting that in
I needed
nice crisp
8K
quality.
zero
Yeah,
latency from the fucking space station instantly.
yeah, especially
Otherwise, I'm
instantly.
not content.
Yeah, I want it instantly. But that's not how it works. That's literally,
I wanted
we've
beams directly into my brain, and that is the only way I'll be happy about the view in the rocket.
yeah, just strap yourself to the rocket then.
Plenty of people that
That
I
is
wish I could strap to rockets. That's for sure.
That's pretty much about everything I've got for this week.
that's a good amount.
Yeah,
I like your picks, Koshi.
Well, thank you very much.
I don't.
Fuck you.
Exactly. Not enough gargling for him.
Shut up. Yeah. I really wish that Baldur's Gate had come out today instead of tomorrow. I
I
really
wish
wish,
Starfield came out today.
because then we've got to wait until next Wednesday to like fully talk about Baldur's Gate, like what
Well,
we
good. We'll
played of
have
it.
content to talk about.
Yeah, we'll have more than an hour to talk about.
Eh, I mean, you're right.
Otherwise, it would have been like, oh, I've played it for an hour and I've made my character, and then it was
Well,
time
no,
to
no,
hop
no,
on
no,
here.
because
So
we had to, because
Cool.
if it was to release today, me and Coach were talking about it, like saying that we would have
Oh,
played,
yeah,
we would have played today, tomorrow, and then done the podcast Friday, because then we would have like at least 6 hours to talk of gameplay to talk about. Because if
Fair.
this is basically the same situation that Koshi's been in for the past however long, is that he's super excited about Starfield, so that's all he's been talking about. So now we're all just hyped on Baldur's Gate, so there's not much else to talk about other than Baldur's Gate.
There is ExileCon.
There's what?
ExileCon.
Path of Exile. I will admit, I saw the trailers that they were releasing.
Ooh, it's my yeah.
They look pretty good.
The changes that they've made and everything, I'm like, yes, please.
One thing that pisses me off though is that they decided that less is more was not a viable option, and they decided to, pretty much make you require a rocket scientist degree to figure out their character building
I'm
again,
fine
like the
with
last
that.
game.
I'm fine with that.
And it's ridiculous.
I
It's
know.
it's
Yeah.
physically ridiculous. Like, could they not condense that in some way? Does it need does every character? I'm sorry, not character. Does every class need like 500 different stats and skills to learn?
Yes.
Shut
Yes.
up.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Shut
it
up.
does. I think
Back in my day, we had 3.
that's not true. Actually, maybe in your day, yeah, but
You old
I
bastard.
think I think I think it's fine. Yeah, it's a little bit intimidating, but I feel like by now it's kind of like saying, "Oh, hey, Dark Souls is gonna be hard." It's like, yeah, once if you install it, you know what you've signed up for, kind of thingy. And everything else from, but goddamn it, what they said. I really like that they're keeping 1 and 2, and that they split. I mean, it would have been nice if it was one continuous as well, but with the vision that they have, you kind of have 2 games going, like one a bit more slower and methodical in 2, and you can still have the spin to win, kill everything on screen in 0.1 second in Path of Exile 1. So I kind of like that, but damn, what they showed about Path of Exile 2, they're bringing in changes that I didn't know I wanted, but now that I know they're being, well, they've already been introduced, but I'm like, fuck yeah, this is making me hyped to play it. Like having you have your 2 weapons that switch, and you can have, I think, up to 10 at the moment in the build they showed. So let's say you want to focus on you have one staff that, and it kind of, your build focuses on lightning, but you're kind of doing lightning and frost, I think it was, in the build. You have 10 points between each weapon swap, and you can, let's say, oh, you have 150 talents to put in your talent tree. 10 of those are going to be switchable, so you'll get 10 for lightning and 10 for ice, depending on your weapon swap. And each time your weapon swaps, it will automatically go to that build, even if it's a one spell. Boom, boom, switch to the other. Bam, You're in the other talent tree, which is just fucking mind blowing. As like, I never thought of this before, but now I want it in every fucking ARPG. Uh, Obviously they're doing the good thing where it's if you buy something microtransaction-y in Path of Exile 2, you can use it in Path of Exile 1, and the stuff you bought or will buy in Path of Exile 1, you're able to use in Path of Exile 2, with some notable exceptions. Like, obviously, there's no druids in 1, so if you're buying a skin for how your bear form looks, obviously that's not gonna work in 1, but, fair enough. Nobody's expecting that.
I am.
And they're doing, yeah, but, you're also weird, so. And the
Wow.
fact that they're, I'm really liking how they're doing the beta. Sad that it's gonna be another year, but they said they gave the perfect reason where I'm like, yeah, okay, I can't argue. Where it's like, yeah, we could have had Path of Exile 2 out by now already, but that would have meant we kind of had to ignore Path of Exile 1, and we didn't want to do that, so we're taking a bit longer time, but that way we can still keeping Path of Exile 1 the attention it needs. And with the beta, they're gonna be doing it like one of their leagues, so it's gonna be at the bare minimum 3 months, I think, and it's gonna be the full Path of Exile 2, the full game. So you can go through the whole story and everything like that, and it's literally the beta is literally just to see how the economy goes, what needs a little bit of balancing, what's the feedback, what can we change, and if they're once they're happy with that, boom, it launches. I'm like, yes, yes, please, give me all of that. I'm here for it. So I said there was like a 1% chance I might play Diablo 4 if it were to come to Game Pass. That has I'm now gone in negative points where I'm just like, yeah, no. I literally don't care about playing Diablo 4 at all anymore. I'm hyped. Every time I think of Diablo 4, I get hyped for Path of Exile 2 because that's what I want out of Diablo 4. So
Sadly, the
just
downside to that is that the game doesn't launch in early access till a year from now.
Yeesh.
yeah, but if it's I mean if that's what they need to keep Path of Exile 1 going and give Path of Exile 2 the love and attention it needs, then it's fine. I mean, I wish I would have had it. It's like, oh, yeah, and it launches today. I mean, but if that's what it's gonna take to have their vision and keep current Path of Exile players happy, why not? I mean, we've seen it before. Like they blew up Overwatch 1 to make Overwatch 2, and it's a shittier experience. They blew up Destiny 1 to create Destiny 2, and that a lot of players that played Destiny 1 kind of didn't like Destiny 2 at the beginning either. So just being focused on, hey, we have a good community for 1, and we'll just keep building on 2 until it's ready. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but it's easy to say that you should always delay a game to make it good. No one wants a game broken at release. And I'm not even going to mention the big ones. Everyone knows who the big ones
Yeah,
are in recent memory. But at the same time, it's like eventually you want to play the game. And they go and
yeah.
they drop all this information and they show all these kick-ass trailers and get everyone hyped. And it's probably going to be realistically, and this could be either a little before or a little after, but it's realistically going to be almost 2 years before we get the final product. And it's like, at the same time, I mean, I don't want them to rush either. I want them to make the game right. But if it doesn't go into early access until summer of next year, of July of next year, and that's if everything stays on track, then it's not going to release. The final product's not going to release till earliest, probably 2025, early, like first quarter, most likely January or February. But if not, we're looking at not till summer release.
No, I think because technically, like I said, once they go into beta, you can play the go through the entire story and everything like that. It's just what they're doing is looking at having a close look at the economy and balancing the economy and everything like that. So technically, by next year, you are quote unquote. It's like you're playing. You've gotten Baldur's Gate 3 entirely, from today, and then in 3 or 4 months it fully launches with the balance, but you've gone through the entire story and everything like that. Just maybe not as balanced as it was, and maybe the prices changed a little bit
If
towards
it was
the end
just
and everything like that.
balancing, the game would be releasing. It wouldn't be going into early access. They're going into early access for a reason, because the game's not done. Yeah, you may be able to go through the whole game, but it's probably going to be missing classes, or it's going to be
No,
missing.
no.
Hold
I'm
on,
I'm
hold on. I'm saying as example. I don't need every little detail. I'm just saying as example. It's going to be missing some things. If it's just going to be balancing, that's always ongoing. That's never going to stop. All right. Every game does that at launch or after. That's normal. So if it's just balancing, it's not going to go into early access. So if it's launching in early access, it's launching in early access for a reason. Maybe they didn't tell you the reason, but it's obviously missing something that the final product is going to have. And it's probably going to be something big. Like it could be classes. Now maybe they're going to have all the classes at launch.
Physics.
Fine. But it could be bosses, it could be physics, it could be AI, it
Ass
could be
jiggle
anything.
physics.
It's not going to be simple as balancing.
not
So don't
that's
kid yourself.
Well, I'm going literally off of the quote that the dev for it said. Is like, oh, when
Stupid
we're
name,
gonna
so
go
long.
into early access, and early access is gonna be testing the economy and balancing some of the things, and seeing
Right.
how players will get, but it will be the full game and the full campaign.
Oh, I get that. But then clearly it can't be because it's going into early access. There's something that he's not telling the audience. He's not telling you.
They're
Because
treating it as a
if the
beta.
game was done, so what's the beta? What is the beta? Beta is bug
Femboys.
fixing mechanics that are
Beta
in
is
game.
balancing and fixing some things, but the thing is done. A
Right.
proper old school beta.
Right. It's fixing. It's getting it ready for launch. It's getting it ready for
Yes,
launch. So what's going to
but the
happen
full
is,
content is in there.
I understand that. Listen to what I'm saying. There's clearly something that you are not, and the rest of the audience who watched the stream were not in on. Because for them to launch it as a beta or in early access, whatever they want to call it, because it is a beta basically, for them to launch it like that, it's telling that there's some things that will be missing. Now, yeah, the game,
Player
for it to be a
feedback.
beta, for it to be a beta, for it to be early access, well, not necessarily early access, that's different, but for it to be a beta, yeah, all the main mechanics need to be in the game. It's got to be almost done, just not polished, right? Okay, so I'll give you that. So for it to be like that, sure. But if they're launching it in early access, most 90% of games that launch when they call it early access means that there's still work to be done outside of simply polishing and bug fixing and just adding one or two small things here and there. Early access usually means that they're listening to what the people are saying and they're going in and making what could be big significant changes to the game. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but looking at early access games up to date from since their inception, back what 10, 15 years ago when Steam started the whole thing, that's pretty much what early access has been. If it's a beta, they announce it as a beta. If it's early access, they announce it as early access. And what did Path of Exile devs do? They announced it as early access, not as a beta. Now, again, you could be 100% right because I know that's what they said and that's what you're going off of, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that they released it, they announced it as an early access and not beta, that tells me that it's not going to be quite done within the year of 2024. But that's just me. I could be wrong, but that's just me. Early access is a red flag.
Well, I think you're wrong, but like you said, we can agree to
Well,
disagree.
you should say I should be right. You have to agree
Well,
with me.
No.
no, 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 no.
Agree with me, goddammit.
No.
See, the problem is I'm trying to find the quote, and
Even if I did agree with you, I'd still say no.
So you guys have never noticed that there's a distinction between beta and early access? Honestly?
Of course there is.
Okay, so why when I'm saying that now does no one believe in me?
Because I know it
no,
annoys you
I'm,
when I say that I don't agree with
I
you.
think it's It's more because they specifically outlined what the early access / beta is going to be.
So what
It's
is it
like
then?
it's literally what I said.
Okay, so say it again. Because
It's
you said, because let's be honest,
balancing.
Funky, you said a lot of things.
Fucking
So
hell.
let's narrow it
It's
down and focus
yeah.
here,
All right. Let me repeat that. It's balancing the economy,
right?
seeing what needs a bit more balancing,
Uh-huh.
and then once that feels right, releasing it.
So they're going into early access, not beta. They're going into early access just for simply rebalancing and for
Seeing
fixing the economy.
they're doing it to get player feedback, and once they're happy and the players seem happy with where the game is, they're gonna be like, all right, boom, release.
Yeah, that's called beta,
Yeah, that's why
not
they're
early
doing
access.
it. It's a early access / beta. They're kind of calling it both, but that's what they're going for.
Again, red flag. I feel like there's more going on there than simply that.
Rainbow flag.
Okay,
Because, like I said,
that's why they delayed the game a year and are gonna put it into
I'm
beta.
guaranteeing you right now, I'm going to call it, and I want you guys both to come back to this podcast, which is by the way, what number is this, Gannon?
7.
Come back to podcast number 7. I guarantee you this game will not be out before spring of 2025.
Okay.
Because clearly it's more than just rebalancing. Yeah,
Okay.
now let's be honest here. Let's be honest. Let's be realistic, actually. That's the word I wanted to use.
No.
Let's take rebalancing, all right? That takes time to figure out. You got to look at all the data that has come back. Look what happened to Diablo 4, right? They put out season 1 patch. It shit the bed. It literally shit the bed. So they
Oh,
have
like
to go back. They have to
Amber Heard?
look at all. No, not it. They did. They did Amber Heard it. Yes, they did.
Okay. Okay.
They went back. They had to look at all the data, compile it all, make it make sense, and then they have to incorporate that into the game in a way where it doesn't break the game. So that's going to take time. So I understand that if that's what they're doing, if they're going to launch it in early access and it's going to be for Path of Exile, if they're going to launch it in early access and they're going to do just that, that it could take them potentially, because this is a massive game. This is potentially going to take them to the end of the year to go through all the data, see what the fans are saying, see what works, what doesn't work, and then reincorporate that into the game without breaking the game. But I still feel like it's going to be something more than just simple, and I say simple, but it's not simple. Simply rebalancing and economy, because this is something that's never going to stop.
Okay.
This is something, even
Here we
after the game
yeah.
fully launches, at any game,
Okay,
it
Koshi.
never stops.
In an interview, blah blah, with a shitty gaming website, it was mentioned that the tests were expected to last at least as long as one cycle, which is 3 months, I think, for one league. Usually at least a dozen weeks, so players will get enough time to check out most of the attractions offered by the sequel, if not even all of them. Making the entire game available for beta testing is an unusual procedure, but the developers have a compelling reason for it. The developers wanted to have a good beta to best balance the gameplay for the release of Path of Exile, so as to not annoy fans with patches later on. After all, as Roger stated, players are reluctant to see changes, especially downward. Read weakened or nerfs. I think if you have to make sure that you have the right balance of gameplay at launch, because once you have something done a certain way, players are very reluctant to try and change it, especially downwards. That's why we have to make sure we get a good beta that tells us everything we need to know about balance. That's the quote I'm going off of.
Okay. So what are you saying?
Oh, for fuck's sake.
That's why they're having a fucking early access / beta.
Again, you're not listening to anything I'm saying. Not a goddamn
Yeah.
word. I'm
You're
not
just
arguing that they're having an early access or why they're having one. I'm arguing that they're having an early access versus a beta. That's what I'm arguing, but you're not listening. You heard a couple comments from some devs who obviously can never be wrong because they're not human beings, right? And you're just completely ignoring everything I'm saying. I'm not arguing that they're not having an early access or beta for a reason. I get that. I get that. That's normal. What I'm arguing is that it's that they're calling it early access versus a beta, although in that quote they called it a beta, so it's kind of confusing exactly what it is. Because generally, as I said, since the inception, and I guess I'm the only person here who's ever played video games,
Yes, you
I clearly that early access games are usually missing certain features, and as you continue to grow the game, you release it in early access so that people can understand what the game is about, and then you know bring forth possible changes for the developer to implement.
Mhm.
That's what early
But
access is. That's what it's
yes,
always been.
but would
That's
you
why
say
I
for
was said red flag, because I was confused. Like, why wouldn't they just call it a beta? If the game is that done and you can play
yeah,
it from beginning to end, why not just call it a beta?
but I think to your point, this is somewhat of a counter, but I think they're calling it beta slash early access is because a lot of younger people, when you mention what it's going to be, they're just going to, oh, so it's early access, because they know that as a early access thing. So to not cause confusion, they're just going, yeah, it's early access slash beta.
I would agree with you, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I do agree with you on some level there.
Do you think beta?
Uh,
Do you think because of that's a good point actually? Do you think that the younger generation is damn, that made me feel old to say. The younger generation is falling out of knowledge of what a beta is, and now because everything
I
just
mean,
seems to
even we
be
are even we
early access.
have, for the most part, we even have the wrong conception of a beta. But what we knew as a beta was already kind of wrong.
Yeah, I know, but like, I mean, what we traditionally have known
Yeah,
to be a
yeah.
beta for quite a while now, um, like it does seem to be like uh, get a lot of games just unless they're like, I guess console exclusives is the only time I really see it
Yeah.
kind of doing betas, but even then they don't really do it.
And even there, they have early access as well. So
well, like I said, I would agree with Funky, and I do on most levels. He's got a very good point there. The problem is that they still release betas till today. And I've never seen confusion. I could be wrong, but I've never seen confusion between what's early access and what's beta. What I have seen though,
it's
and I
what's
should
what's
bring this
what's
up,
alpha and early access.
more so, well, yeah, I would say alpha is early access, basically, because I feel like early access was a coin termed by Steam that I've never seen
Yeah,
anywhere else outside of Steam.
I think it's kind of started out outside of Steam, but it was always with Kickstarter. It was always mentioned as, oh, you get early access to the alpha, or you get early access to the beta,
Yeah,
and that just became early access. They
yeah.
kind of stopped naming it early access to the alpha or the beta. Some still do to main. It's just if you have backers and all of that, or you're just like, hey, or on Steam, it's like you're joining a alpha, or you're joining a beta to clearly state where the game is versus you
Uh,
know
I also feel like the term was it was created to replace alpha and beta in a way
yeah,
because then you can kind of sell your game before it's ready by saying, "Oh,
yeah,
well, you're not a beta tester; you are an early access player.
yeah.
Like you've been granted the privilege of of not even testing,
We'll
playing
we'll
this
take your
game.
feedback into
Yeah,
account.
like you get to play this game before it's even released. It's like I feel like they kind of went on this whole it's a privilege that you've bought this game before it's
Yeah,
ready. Whereas because then you kind of avoid the whole anybody who's like thinking that, well, why would I pay for this game now? It's not ready. Why would I pay to be a beta tester
yeah,
when really like because generally a beta test is free. Like you can beta test any like The crew Motorfest had a beta recently. You don't have to
Yeah.
own the game. You just sign up to be a beta tester.
Yeah.
Like it's
And you
free.
either get picked
Where-
or
Yeah, exactly.
global
So,
ones or
whereas early access is the thing they've pushed because it's how to get money for being a beta
Yeah.
tester without like the stigma behind it.
I think a lot of the problem where it comes to where Funky and I were discussing, early access first beta with whereas Path of Exiles 2 is concerned, is the fact that Steam, I don't want to say it's Steam's fault because it's not, but we've gotten to a point where, as I was growing up, all right, the industry for video gaming was always as follows. Alpha was a put together engine running game.
Yeah.
Beta was the same game with all the mechanics installed and working to
Yeah.
some extent, and then you were bug fixing. And then gold was when the game was ready to be released.
Yeah.
Now we've got early access that jumped in, and Funky said it best when he said, well, early access could be early access to the alpha, it could be early access to the beta. You don't know what you're getting anymore
It's a
because
catch-all term.
because every indie developer out there decided, well, I feel like beta means this, and I feel like alpha means this. So when I launch my game in early access, it's going to be this. And so it's gotten so muddled with so many games in early access on the one premier, PC platform, Steam, that it's almost all the lines have gotten so blurred that it's so hard nowadays to figure out when I'm buying in early access how far actually is into the game that is it done, or am I buying early access just to get the game at a cheaper discount when it finally does release?
Yeah.
It's
I
like,
think
what the hell's going on here?
I think for the most part the really really good early access games tend to lean more towards being in beta and just like, oh, we're testing this and we want to add more, but we're still working on it, kind of like
Typically,
your
it's past alpha.
Valheim and your V Rising and all of that. I would consider those into mostly traditional beta because
I would say
they have
that
most of their working stuff in there.
I'd say they're not quite beta, but they're
No,
definitely
but
way along. They're way past alpha at that point. Like
yeah,
they're closing in on beta, is what I
Yeah.
guess is the way to look at it.
they're
But
not
still,
quite there yet, but
it's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're getting. When you look at a game like
Yeah, yeah,
Subnautica, when that game launched back in, what was it, 2012, 2014, that game was literally just you diving into the ocean and cataloging fish. That was the game. That was the original intent of the game. That's all it was. But then they decided, well, let's start doing this and let's start doing that. And they ended up adding and changing the entire game through its life cycle of early access to
didn't it always start with you
completely
crashing?
different.
But
What's that?
Didn't it always start with you crashing?
No, the
but here's the
original when
thing,
it
though.
first launched and when it first launched in early access, it was you jumping into the ocean and cataloging fish.
There's nothing inherently wrong with doing that, though. Like, there's nothing inherently
No,
wrong
there's
with
not.
changing your
But
game.
but if I had bought that game,
because it
back
definitely
then-
happens. I mean, it's happened in the past where studios that didn't do early access, it's like AAA or whatever or AA, like they have like went back to the drawing board essentially and reworked their entire game from the start. Like, because they
Right.
weren't happy
Or-
with how things
right,
were
but
going.
here's the difference between that, what you're saying, and what
You're
I'm
not
saying,
paying for it.
is that I'm not paying for it. Or in
Oh, I
this
know,
case, I
I
did
get
pay
that.
for it because I paid for a game where I got to go through and catalog fish and be, Sir Attenborough, in Dinosaur Planet or whatever. But now they decided we got to have aliens, we got to have a story, we got to have voice acting, we got to have this, we got to have that, and then the game that I signed up for that I thought was going to take 2 to 3 years now take 9 fucking years to release.
Yeah.
Did it take
What
that
about
long?
Long Dark? Great game, loved it, but it was not That game added so much to it. It was feature creep. They added so much to that game. When did it finally release? 2020? That game was 2012 early access. 8 years?
Yeah.
Really? Come on.
Yeah, no.
I don't know what my
But
point was there.
no, but I get what you're kind of saying.
Tell me, because I don't
But
know.
that you kind of, because you're paying for it, and you might get sold one thing and it ends up being another thing, or
Oh
if
yeah,
it
that was it. Yeah. Thank you.
or just slash taking forever, or if it comes out at all. But I think that's also somewhat, at least for me, why I look at early access, as in, if I buy an early access game, I buy it in the state that it's in right now, and do I think I can have fun with it in this state and get my quote unquote money's worth out of it right now? And
I
obviously,
kind of agree. There is a couple of games that I've really like. I've looked at the progression that has already been and figured, well, it's gonna end up somewhere I'm gonna like, so I might as well just get it. But for the
I
most
feel
part, I will look at a game and think, can I have fun with this right now? I definitely agree with Funky. Like, I won't drop my money until it's in a state where I'm like, yeah, this is on the track where I'm enjoying it, like
yeah, and
where I will
even
enjoy it.
if like it turns to shit, you've had your fun now.
Yeah, like
the
it
thing is
sucks, but
though.
it's like, eh.
Yeah, it's obviously it sucks, yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, here's the problem with that, and I agree that's a good way to look at it. But here's the problem: when they make a statement on on Steam, on their Steam page for whatever game they're releasing, they basically excuse me, they're basically making a promise to you. They're bringing you this game. This is what they have planned. This is the
it's like a
idea of it.
Kickstarter.
Well, that's the thing.
All right.
But you're right. You're right there,
Hold on,
Koshi.
hold on, hold on, hold on,
Okay.
hold on.
Okay.
So when I buy the game, I'm not thinking of, well, how much fun can I get out of it right now? Right? When I buy the game, I'm buying as a promise that hey, I'm throwing you my money now so that you can get this eventual game that I want to play. It'll get released and I can play it later down the line when it's completed. You see
That
the
is the
difference
hope.
there?
Yeah, no, that
No,
is the hope, and
I
that is.
agree. It's just like, but at that point, it's like you are taking the gamble of buying early access.
Well, yeah. I mean, that you get that gamble with every game you buy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with Nintendo and Super Nintendo. It's either you read reviews or you take the chance. And even then,
Yeah.
the reviews, like, okay, well, this guy didn't like it, but you know what? I like things that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
So that review doesn't really help me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Or
that's go ahead.
go ahead. No, that's all I was gonna say was
I think
or.
that's the for me. This is, I mean, I was gonna buy it anyway, but this is an early access. Well, I guess it's early release access for Remnant 2. I was gonna buy Remnant 2 based off of stuff that I saw from kind of previews and everything like that, but obviously they also have had limited time with it. But I think on that Saturday before it launched, if you bought the Ultimate Edition, you could start playing it then. And I still wasn't sure. I was like, do I want the Ultimate Edition and just get the season pass out of the way or not? But from me, and this is the actual point, going on streams and watching YouTube videos of actual gameplay that is happening right now that isn't scripted by anybody or anything like that. Even if I like those players, they might have NDAs on, oh, you can only show this or that. So while they want to give you the full picture, sometimes that is, with the best intentions, that is not fully possible. So going on Twitch, watching somebody playing it, watching videos on YouTube and everything, and kind of getting a feel for the game, kind of seeing how people are feeling about it in the chat and in the comments and everything like that. That for me made me buy the Ultimate Edition of Remnant, and it's kind of, at least to me, I kind of do the same thing with early access game where I'm like, oh, this looks interesting, wait for some Steam reviews, kind of see how they're feeling about it. Looking it up on Twitch and on YouTube to see what certain streamers slash YouTubers are feeling about it as the game is in its current state, and then I make a I guess a balance in my mind of like, oh, pros, cons, and do I feel like I would have fun with this, like I said, right now, and how do I predict this going? Do I see it? Are the devs saying the right things and are they going in the right direction and everything like that, like Gannon was saying? And do I have faith in them for the future, or do I just see this? Oh, this seems fun, and if it ends up being even better at launch, awesome. But, like for example, I've mentioned it a couple of times. I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast. Captain of Industry is a game that is in early access. It literally did its first since it launched in early access. It did its first big patch like 2 months ago, or let's say end of Mayish. I think it's a I think it's a one man team. Maybe like let's be kind of say three because I'm not sure, but it's a incredibly small team, so it's gonna take forever in early access and everything like. But I looked at the game, so okay, I see where this is going. I like this and everything like that. And I've played with just one patch update, big patch update, of course, with new content, kind of thing that just fixes and everything. I've already played 220 hours of it for a what is it now? And I think I bought it cheaper because it did for a 28 euros game. So assuming let's pretend Captain of Industry is going to shit, and it's by the end when it launches, it's going to be something different, and that's something I like. I've got 220 hours of fun out of it already, so it's gonna suck, but I've had my fun with it already, so
I'm curious to
I'm
see
good.
how many of those early access games you own that you've actually put your money's worth, if you will, into
Uh, so
them.
far I would say I think this is early
Because I'm
access.
pretty sure, even if it's not just you, it could be me or Gannon or any of the thousands at home listening.
There's some stinkers in there.
Hi, Seth. Uh, that for every captain of industry that you find where you've gotten your money's worth and then some, there's probably a handful of early access behind it that you didn't,
Oh
or
yeah.
and it end up. And I'm not saying this to like counter your point or
No, no,
anything.
no, 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 no. But it is. But I would say most of those. This this is also not to go against you. Uh, but most
Or
of
yeah,
those have been kinda games that kind of looked like fun, and we were thinking of doing co-op. And we kind of like, yeah, let's give it a little bit of a try and see how it goes. And some of those ended up being stinkers, but it was kind of. But for the most part, I think I'm looking at it now. Against the Storm is in early access, and well, I haven't put like 200 hours in it. Let's see how many. I've put 28 hours in that one, and I feel like I had my. I hate saying it, but I feel like I had my money's worth. I've had fun with it enough to where I've enjoyed it. Gunfire Reborn is another one where that launched in early access, and I love that game. I think it's even the gunplay is better than Borderlands. That's my Borderlands 3 kind of fun, kind of thingy. I mean, this one isn't fair because you bought this one for me, but so I can't really fully judge it. But Mountain Blade Bannerlord 2, Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord. If I were to have paid for it, I would have felt in early access I've got my money's worth. So, but like I said, that one is kind of more tricky. Yeah, I'm just going off of my favorite, so obviously those are those are the positive ones. Right now, Temtem was really fun and in early access and still really good. Rimworld, Traveler's Rest so far. So I gotta check out the new update. Free Rising so far, I'm having fun with. Felheim, obviously, Vampire Survivor. Even ones that I've only played like 8 hours, but there's 20 minutes till dawn that I've played that for let's say 8.5 hours, but that is
Wait, what game?
20 minutes till done. But that's kind of
Oh, okay.
a Vampire Survivor sort of game, so that cost me like I think €2. Let's be outrageous and say €4. So you know, it's gonna be a little bit harder to make me feel. I guess the one that I'm enjoying, but I'm kind of that I bought and thought I would enjoy more, but I'm still very interested in is at the moment it's Castle of Alchemist, but I think it's a really good game. I just feel like it, the balance isn't quite there yet for me, so that's one where I'm hopeful for, but that might end up I don't want to say a misbuy, but you know, that's more along the lines of maybe watch out a little bit. Um, Core Keeper is one I've been meaning to get back to, but that seems to be going good as well. I'm just going through some things. Dwarf wasn't no, that was just fun. That was a fun little game, but that wasn't early access either. I guess Foxhole is one that is from what everything I've heard is really good, but that's one of those we play to play multiplayer and never really properly got into it. But I still want to jump into it, but I can't really judge it at the moment. I'm trying to look for one where I was kind of like, eh. mm,
How are you feeling about Remnant 2? Now that you've had time with it, you've beaten it, haven't you?
I have not yet beaten it, but
I'm shocked.
I'm incredibly close. I finally got a good long range weapon that I like because I tried with the machine gun, but then that took ages. So I think with the if I get one more upgrade on the weapon I have right now, I should be able to beat it because the reload speed is all right. The skill it has is really good, and I don't need to take up 3 Dragon Hearts / Estus Flasks just to have the time to reload a weapon. Because that's the thing that keeps killing me. It's like, but I should be good, and I'm having a blast with it. Like I said before we started the thing, I'm just kind of taking a little break from it, mainly because I played it almost as much nonstop as I could last week since that Saturday until like Sunday or something like that. So, you know, I just overplayed it a little bit, but definitely really still enjoying myself. Definitely plan on beating it fully this week, but to be honest, I'm not. I'm just I like the combat, so you know, I'm not that oh I gotta beat it because I can just re-roll single worlds and everything like that and have fun with that and join other people's games. So I'm not like, oh my god, I need to know the story. That's why the story is kind of taking a more of a sideline thingy. But yeah, awesome. I think it's well, it's not fair because there's most of the games I'm interested in are coming out after. So, but I think Remnant 2 is the best game I've played this year so far that has actually come out this year.
Damn.
You know,
It's high praise.
Or he's just picked shitty games. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest. I also haven't bought that many new games this year, or they have been kind of smaller early access games like Halls of Torments and all of that. They've been kind of survivor games and everything like that. But I think either way, it's definitely gonna end up in my top 5 of just games I've played this year anyway. I really liked God of War and I would rate um Remnant 2 above it. But it's also because it's a lot more my kind of game, so it's not fully
Yeah.
fair. Because Remnant 2 is kind of exactly what I want out of a casual game. It has difficulty, but I was saying this to Koshi earlier with about Elden Ring and just in general Souls games. I love Soul games, but I've got to be in the mood to play them, and Remnant kind of has that nice in between where I'm not like I can just play this casually and turn it on and off and everything like that and dip in and out without having to fully go in my I don't want to say try hard mode, but when I'm playing a Souls game, that is all I'm focused on, and that's what I love about us. But partially about Souls games is I'm fully concentrated on playing the game. If somebody's talking next to me, they can go fuck off because I'm playing fucking a Souls game and don't disturb me right now because I'm fighting and everything like that. That's my focus is fully on Elden Ring at the moment, of course, because that's the one I have yet to play. But that's what I like about those games. But that's not something you want to do. Like, I just want to chill a bit. I feel like something actiony, but not too. Oh my god, I'm going full hardcore here, which you can do with Remnant, but that's why that one just hits perfectly in line with what I want out of a quote unquote casual game, by which I mean a game to play casually, not game for well, it doesn't matter really anyway, but it
So
hits that perfect spot.
if we're talking early access games here, and how they're performing, Gannon, what about you? How's Subverse going?
I haven't played it. God damn it! I would.
Okay, what have you
I
played in
genuinely
early
would.
access?
I genuinely would have played that game, but when it got released, it got bad reviews. So I was just like, okay, I'll just save my money then.
I mean, I
So what
guess
have
the
you been playing? It's early access.
battle bit. I almost
I dare say BattleBit is the only early access game I've got. To be honest, that at least I play. Uh,
mm.
a bunch of early
A
access.
Sunhaven. We've played Sunhaven.
That's true, but Stonehaven was released, so
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. All right. Oh, there we go. I should jump into it again then.
yeah, it was
Let me just
released a while ago now.
press play, and then so it's in my recently played list again.
March 11th, it had patch 1.0.
Oh, all right, nice. Well,
Yeah, it's been out a little while now.
nice, nice, nice.
Subverse?
No, you dumb
No,
motherfucker.
Sunhaven. I guess taking. Let's see. Uh,
I mean, BeamNG, we've played briefly. That was early access, I guess.
That wasn't even an
hmm.
alpha.
Yeah. Uh, we played Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
That was
that's one
early
of those
access.
That's one of those where looks fun, has potential, but needs more time. So I hope I get my money's worth. To your point, Koshi. But I also think you. Oh no, did I buy that or did you gift that to me? I think you gifted it to Gal, right?
Yeah,
Or
probably.
I don't remember. Either way, if you did, thank you again. But if you didn't, that's one of those. Yeah,
Well, I'll take credit. I don't mind.
yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
there's no like big games that I've got installed currently that are early access, other than BattleBit and those other couple.
But I mean, over not just currently, like just over the lifetime of your gaming experience
I
with Steam and
generally,
early
yeah,
access.
but I don't generally buy early access games because of so many of them being like just crap, really, or like
I'm
they're either just not worth buying at the time I'm like looking at them, or they just never end up becoming worth buying in to begin with, like even in like at launch. I don't generally, because I don't have a lot of disposable income, so I have to be a bit more fucking careful with my money. So I don't generally go after early access unless I'm for sure that it's going to give me some sort of entertainment then and there. Like Funky says, he buys them for that as well.
See, I do buy early access, but I don't play them until they're released because I see it as like an investment in something
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
think is
definitely.
gonna be good later.
there's definitely an aspect to that as well, because that's kind of what we did for Baldur's Gate 3 anyway.
Yeah,
But once we kind of knew it's when it was the release date and everything and how it looked at that, there's definitely an aspect of that as well. But in general, the games I buy in early access are like your RimWorld clones, your Factorio clones, your survive Jedi, not Jedi, Vampire Survivors, um, your some of the survival ones, but that's more because every now and then I feel that itch to build stuff, and if a game looks right, it hits me in my weak spot. So there's
there's a break
definitely, I
for
think,
that.
out
Yeah.
of yeah, that's true. That's I think early access wise, that's the one where I've fumbled the most is the Survivor games, but even then, I think overall, that was also it's also most of those were kind of during early access when it was kind of just like still treated as a Steam Kickstarter.
Do do these little fucking shitty porn games that are on Steam count as count towards this whole early access discussion?
Sure, why not? Let's count them. You're the
But
expert here,
but
so
but these but
you
these games are like in early access for a long time because they've usually got like really small teams working on them, and it takes like a long time for them to get updates and stuff out. Or but then again, there is some of them that are a bit scummy with it. I've noticed that they'll release they'll put their game up on Steam, but you won't get an update for like 6 months, whereas the Patreon build will be like updated weekly or monthly.
shit, they're doing both. They're double dipping.
That
Ah,
a lot of developers have been doing that lately. It's like
yeah,
you
no.
put it up on Steam just to have it up there, and then for some of them I don't mind because if you're a Patreon subscriber, you're paying for the early access builds. Like the you also have like a direction, like a little bit of influence on the direction of the game that the game's going to take. So that's fair enough. And then the Steam update feels like it's slower, but it's not. It's just that the Steam version will not get updated until like it's a full worth of an update. Like they've bug fixed it and it's ready to push out. Whereas the Patreon's subscribers are kind of getting like the buggy mess to get through first. So it sort of works, but it also does feel like it's a lot of these games are like dead in the water, but they're alive on Patreon. It's just they don't update the fucking Steam player base often enough.
Mhm.
Like, no, I don't mean like literally pushing it. I mean like in the discussions and forums and like on Steam itself, they're not like they're not informing the players what the fuck is happening. They're just kind of waiting until the update's ready.
So they have
everybody-
enough to make a post. I
Yeah,
guess.
so everybody's like kind of sitting around like, why is the Patreon seemingly getting updated so frequently, and yet we've been sitting here 8 months with nothing? It's like kind of
Yeah.
gets a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I feel like. I mean, I guess it's also kind of hard if you're doing, but either treat them the same, or just once you're in early access, it's like here's your keys.
Yeah.
Uh, now it's only early access, but that's asking people to give up monthly money. So that's morally, I would be like, yeah, once you're in early access, kind of Patreon should be over. But it's hard to say no against monthly money, especially if it pays your bills and everything like that. So
At least
while I don't approve of it, I understand it.
I get it for like really small teams, because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they are working. Generally, these people are like trying to work a full-time job and then they're doing this in their spare time. Like they're making this the whatever game on the side kind of
But I
thing.
feel like it should just be like,
and they need to put food on the table.
but I feel like it should just by then it should just be. I'm speaking more towards then it should just be, hey, you can support. It's like subscribing to your favorite streamer. It's like but your streamer shouldn't give you. It's like, oh hey, here you can have an update earlier than everybody else. No, I'm talking more. The updates should be equal on both sides. If you give your Patreons a small patch, then give your early access the same small patch as well.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's a weird situation that it's in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
You're in a weird
there
situation.
is definitely like upsides and downsides to like the whole double dipping.
Yeah.
But I do get it. It's like, I mean, you've got to find, especially if you're like an indie developer, you've got to find money somewhere. And if people are willing to pay monthly to have the buggy mess builds getting pushed out to them, and for them to basically test it out before it gets pushed to the Steam, then fair enough. It's just it just frustrates me that these games these games sit in early access for like way too long, way longer than they should.
Well, I can't really speak to these type of games, but I'm just thinking in general.
Mhm.
Like again, if you give your this is gonna sound even crazier with the early access to the early access built for your early access, like quote unquote beta testing, I guess would be the best way to say a thing that you're gonna introduce to early access, but give it like at the most a month. Like, oh hey, do you mind testing this out and seeing if there's spelling errors or there's things that aren't right before I launch this on the Steam early access? But that's literally what you're doing. You're helping the dev with some Q&A.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be like you said 8 months later.
Well,
You get that.
I feel like this is the worry I always have, is that the developers, they stick it up on Steam, and that is basically where they're known that they're going to be eventually selling the full product. Like,
Yeah.
that's where it's going to be. It's obviously going to be there.
Mhm.
It's already sold there. They've already sold copies, so therefore they have to sell it there. But like, I almost feel like they purposely take longer to then develop the game because of the Patreon money coming in, because they're getting way too comfortable just sitting coasting along with the Patreon income. Because I mean, once they finish the game, what's the Patreon subscribers gonna be subscribing for? They're no longer getting early access to the game,
Number 2,
so they're gonna just
DLC.
unsubscribe. So they would have to, so they would have to like immediately start another game in development, or as you say, work on like extended stuff for the game that they've released. But I genuinely feel like some of them are definitely sitting there purposely taking longer than it really should, so that they can kind of keep the money flow incoming. Which,
That's why I'm not
a bit scummy.
fan
but...
of Patreon, and not just pay, but that kind of thing in general for games. I get it if it's like, I don't know if they have it, but let's assume they do. Like, oh hey, if you join the Patreon for Critical Role or something, that's something that's gonna keep on going. They're investing in their set and everything like that, and cameras and all of that. That's a ongoing thing. But like you said, with a game, it's like, once it's done, it should just kind of be goodbye. And if you're making X amount a month, that's suddenly a thing that's gonna vanish. So that's like your comfy cushion that's gone. Or like you said, in certain cases, putting food and everything on the table, and paying the rent and everything like that to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's part of being a game company. If you're gonna have to release it sometime, and that's why I'm kind of iffy on those kind of things for Patreon.
Yeah. It's why it's why I've kind of I've got like a bunch of like indie games on itch.io thing.
Oh yeah.
Where you do, a lot of them are like free. You don't have to but like pre-purchase them on, like you have to do on Steam and stuff. So
Mhm.
It's a little bit better because obviously those
Mhm.
games developers on itch also have their own Patreons, and that's where that's their main fund. It's not the
Yeah.
like slapping up on Steam and getting money from it kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of.
'Cause you would think
Put
that
it. We all.
the more income that you're getting from, such as Steam sales as well as your Patreon, that it would increase your productivity on the game, not slow it down. But it certainly
Yeah.
seems like it slows down.
Yeah. I don't know. That is fair. I also feel like this is at least like I said, I can't really speak to the Patreon. I think it's also very important to make make a clear. I hate saying this word, but a roadmap, because
Yeah.
we know it's usually we know it from people that didn't
Mhm.
stick to it. But just I think a good roadmap is
Or
good to
even
kind
just
of
like
to see where your vision is, even if it's not like, oh, hey, November,
yeah,
we're
like
launching this. It's just, what's the vision of it? What do
yeah,
you
what's
want
the
to add?
plan?
What do you want to? Yeah,
What's your guide? What guide are you using? What
yeah.
is your like? Even with a roadmap, I don't
What's your
mind if it
measuring stick? I guess.
changes.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, I
yeah,
don't mind if they throw out a roadmap, and as long as it's not like saying I promise this, because obviously you
yeah,
can't make promises if you can't fucking keep them. Just say, look, this
yeah,
is the direction we're planning to head in. Things may
mhm,
change. Everybody
yeah,
understands that from an early access game anyway. So it's not like you're going to
yeah.
be shocked that something changes later down the line that you were maybe hoping
Yeah,
for. It's
sometimes
just
things
like,
don't work out. Like you have a
yeah,
good idea, you test it, and
and it,
turns
yeah,
out it's not that great of an idea after all.
yeah, or it's like whatever gaming engine you're using on just will not fucking allow it. Like
Yeah,
it's just technically screwing you. So you're like, all right, we're gonna have to cut
mhm,
this, otherwise this system will no longer work, and this system is the priority kind of thing.
yeah.
Development,
That's why I feel like,
I would never like sit here and like bitch and moan that a developer can't get something to work because I'm positive that game development is a fucking tough and annoying process for the most part.
yeah, yeah. But it's
So
also, but at the same time, it, there's also the this isn't so much towards devs, but you also need to respect your fans and your
oh, yeah,
customers.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So sometimes this
That's
is more
why
towards
I'm saying
this
don't
is
make
not
promises.
indie early access devs. This is more just the bigger devs where they kind of, you know, they like to just, oh, it's so hard. You're like, yeah, but you're also just completely
Yeah, but
ignoring your fan base.
in that instance though, like the bigger, at least when you're working for a big company, you definitely got the resources to fucking solve that
Yeah,
issue. Like
exactly.
it's you're not if you're a solo developer, I get it. You like sometimes you'll hit
Yeah.
you'll hit a roadblock and it's just like, well, fuck it, I might as well just do this instead because it's easier, and I'm fine with
Yeah.
that. But when you're working for like EA or whatever the hell, like you've got the
Mm.
resources to resolve whatever issue you're at. It might be completely impossible. That's fair enough, but it's rare
Yeah.
that
But then
I
let people
suspect that's rare.
either let people know, give them a rough time frame
Yeah.
of how long it takes, but sometimes there's just things where they're like, oh yeah, the usual, oh yeah, and we love our community, we love the feedback, but then they're clearly just ignoring the feedback, and then people start complaining, and it's like, oh well, we want to do this or this, and it's like, but we try to fix it this way, and it's like, but uh, fighting games, for example, I don't remember what the thing is, but there's a kind of netcode, and certain fighting games were using it, and everybody's like, yeah, no, this is it came about with especially with COVID that a lot of them changed, but it's like way better. Net latency is a lot lower, and for years and years players were begging companies to just like, please install this, it's free, the netcode is better, everything is better, you know, please, 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 can we have this? And it's just like, oh, we're doing this to the netcode, and the netcode kept getting messed up and everything like that. And then during COVID, they were just like, I think it started with the Persona 4 fighting game where they introduced it, and that company then slowly started introducing it, and everything just worked better. And it's like suddenly, hey, they listened to their fans, and turns out this isn't obviously not always, but the fans were right, and they've literally just been introducing it to all of their other games, and now other big games are using that as well because of the netcode is so much better than the late, and you don't have too much latency issues. And it's like, yeah, well, look at all, and it kind of did obviously the fact that Street Fighter 6 is so in depth and everything helps as well, but that kind of got the excitement for fighting games going again, and that then pushed into Street Fighter. So it's
It makes
sometimes
me
listening to your fans is also good.
it makes me think it's a fucking like an annoying pride thing from the whoever's
Yeah,
like designing
because
that shit. It's like, well, that you telling me that the fans can do better than me, a professional in my job. It's like, well, yeah, they've got more time on their hands to solve this shit. You don't. You've got restrictions. You're in a company, motherfucker.
not to do my weekly shit on Blizzard one, but it is a apt code here. You think you want that, but you don't.
Yeah, dumbasses.
Yeah. Oh well, guess what? They did. Just look at I mean, and obviously you can speak more to it than me, having not played WoW since Cataclysm. So, but um, was it the one before Shadowlands or whatever it was called? Totally ignored all of the feedback from the players, and it was just, oh, we know better.
Oh yeah, 100%. They
This
looked at
expansion, they listened to the players, and suddenly the game is a lot better.
they
And
looked,
like I said, obviously they're not always fans are often not right, but if you hear something enough, it might be good to look into a way to kind of see if there's a way to do that.
Battle for Azeroth was a colossal failure, and then and then when all the players gave them a bunch of feedback on how much of a shit show that expansion was, they went, okay, we'll just put this over here in the pile that we're totally gonna read, and then went ahead with Shadowlands and did all the same mistakes. And the player base sat there just thinking, like, we told you this wasn't going to work. Why have you went ahead and repeated the same shit that we said we didn't like from the previous expansion? But it was just Blizzard being arrogant pieces of shit as usual.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Now they've like finally decided to listen, and the latest expansion has turned out to be a lot better. So I mean, but who the fuck knows how long that's gonna last? Because the next expansion after this one could be an absolute shit show again when they finally go, oh well, we've clearly got it right, which means we're back on the ball, boys. Let's do what we do best, and then what they do best is not actually great, as we've been proven.
Yeah. It's kind of the same with to a certain extent with Sony. They're like, oh, they're doing good. They're doing good. Yeah, people are happy. Oh, great games. Yeah, thank you. And every so often they do kind of a what the fuck? Why the fuck are you doing that? And then they at least they backtrack it for the most part. It's like every now and then they're just like, no, time to pull your feet back on the ground a little bit again. But at the same time, there's also often things that players give a dev shit for, where it's just like, yeah, no, these are not the people you should be screaming at. But they are the easy targets. But
it's a management
those
issue.
are not the
Always
people.
fucking is.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like
management issue.
One of the, and this is go back to the early access as well with the roadmap and everything. Good communication does so fucking much.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're I think I don't remember what it was, but there was a game launched and people were like, hey, can you fix this? And they're like, yeah, we're looking into fixes, but it's gonna we can make these fixes and these changes relatively quick, and we see that players want this, and we do think it's a good idea, but this is gonna take.
That was Diablo 4.
That could be, but this is gonna take X amount of time. Like, I think it's gonna be. Oh, this is gonna take at least 4 months, because the first month we want to kind of take to make fix the current game with the small bugs and everything like that. So if it was bad, no bad. I'm already doing it. Path of Exile 2. Yeah, it was Diablo 4 is what the other one
It,
is
wa-
called.
it was
Yeah.
it was Diablo. It was the whole gem bag thing.
Oh yeah.
Like players were like, we want these gems to not be taking up like 50% of our inventory space. Can you please put them into like the stash tab or something like that, or a resource tab or something? And Blizzard were like, yeah, we'd like to do that, but it's going to be like 6 months before we get around to it. And people were like, why? It's like, well, we've got season 1 coming out in a couple of weeks, and then we've got a bunch of other stuff we need to fix and keep
Yeah.
working on the game. We've got like a whole list of stuff that we need to do first, and then
Yeah.
we can look into implementing this change. But like,
Yeah.
I on one hand it sucks because it is frustrating, but on the other hand it's like
But
I understand that they have a structure and they kind of need to keep following it, otherwise chaos. And
yeah. And at least they gave a timeline and they said
yeah, and they were
we're
open and honest
working
about
on
it.
it.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
look, we do
Instead
like
of
this
just being like,
idea.
yeah.
It's like, well, look, this will be a thing eventually, but it's going to take us time, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
That's as open and honest as it can get. So,
Yeah. At least
fuck
for
it.
the bigger ones. But I mean, yes, but I think it was still another game where they were literally just like, yeah, we're gonna, because it was in early. I think it was an early access game that then launched, and they were just like, yeah, no, this is because suddenly, you launched the game and they got a lot more feedback from players, and it was like, I think it might have been actually, no, I think it might have been Battle Bit Remastered actually, where they were like, they did give the map, but it was like the first month we're gonna just be first we wanna focus on the problems we're having right now, and then once we're happy with that, we're gonna go to all of the other things on the roadmap and things you're just suggesting. But right now we wanna look to your feedback and fix what we can fix right now, and then from we're happy with that. Like I said, we'll go on, which is one of those where I'm like, yeah, no, that's a good and simple communication. You get where the mind is at, whether you disagree or you agree. I tend to agree because yeah, it's good that if you have that many players and the hype is right now, you want to fix what's wrong with the game right now versus working on more maps. I feel like that communication is so key versus either just like partial where it's like, oh, I guess we should make an update, and it kind of feels soulless and mandatory like homework, versus just like, oh, hey, here's where we're at, this is what we're thinking. In big companies it tends to be like, oh, hey, we talked to the devs and this is the and that. That's kind of what I liked about the Division 2 live streams to when they had things with the devs, because whether you liked what they were doing with it or not, they literally brought on some of the devs where they're, oh, this is what we're going for, what we're aiming for, we're testing this now, we think it will work like this. You at least got like an insight into their mentality and their brain of like what they're hoping, what they're working on, and what they're hoping for the game, and how it will improve it for better or for worse. Obviously that remains to be seen in those cases, but at least they're interacting with you and you know the state of the game.
Yeah, there's no like the less guesswork from the player side, the better. I feel like.
Yeah, and the more understanding they will be.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, for
'Cause,
the most part, I mean, there's still going to be
yeah, there's always gonna
dickheads.
be like, yeah, but
Can't fucking avoid it, unfortunately.
obviously, yeah.
I feel like
But I feel like,
the majority of players just want, yeah, they want open and honesty.
yeah,
Just tell us what the fuck's going on. Whether that's all we
it's
care about. It's the wondering and waiting that frustrates people.
yeah. I remember, and this is a one dev game. I don't remember the game, but I remember hearing or reading about it, and he had this entire thing, and he just literally just said like, hey, this game is, I know it was gonna be released within 6 months, but I think somebody in his close family got cancer, and so he was like, "Yeah, it's gonna take longer because I'm not really in the mood right now to work on it, having all of this going through my mind, and
Yeah.
I've got to take care of said relative." And everyone's like, "Yeah, no, fair enough. You do you," and that's maybe even more than needed to be said. But everyone's like, "Yeah, no, okay,
Yeah.
no worries. It will come out when it comes out. You take your time." Everybody was understanding where it was just like, "Oh no, game's gonna be released. Game's gonna be delayed by 6 months." Everybody would have just been like, "Oh."
Fucking freaking out.
Yeah. Which also, like I said, there's a good line where it's like, "Oh, this is the reason why. Just give us a reason."
Mm.
Most players would be accepting them, apart from the dumb idiots that are just angry at everything and live on Twitter too much. I guess X these days too much.
Oh God, don't call it X.
Why did they change that?
Because Elon Musk is a fucking moron.
Is it literally just that? There's
Yep.
no
He's legitimately obsessed with the letter X. That is why he wants to try and make this whole X everything
okay.
app.
I thought it was maybe like a stupid meta thing.
No, he's just a fucking weird knobhead.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Not that I use not Well, I guess I use the site once a month to get the fashion report, and that's it. But for Final Fantasy, but that's
Um,
about it. So I'm not gonna miss much on it.
I follow that person too.
Yeah. Good on them. I want to give them a shout out, but I always it's Kaiko or something. I always forget.
Ryuki or Ryuko or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like
I
that.
have no idea how to pronounce the name, but yeah,
They're good people.
that's the only time when I'm on Twitter. Oh, I guess, and to post that Baldur's Gate 3 tweet,
Mm.
but yeah, that's just not my kind of thing. That kind of
Anyway,
social media.
on that terrible fucking reminder that Twitter is dead. They killed
Why
the
is it
bird
terrible? Why is it terrible?
because they like at least Twitter was recognizable in some ways being Twitter. Now it's just X, a letter. Now it
Oh, like
sounds like a
that.
porn
Yeah,
site,
okay.
motherfuckers. Like what the hell?
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anybody got any parting words, Koshi? Do you have anything to say before we wrap it up here?
Nope.
All right,
Live
cool.
long and prosper.
He wasn't even here. He was busy doing something else. I'm sure of it.
He's playing The Sims.
Yeah, but we're over time, so I think we should fuck
See you in
off now.
Baldur's Gate. See you in Baldur's Gate, people.
Hell yeah! Next week we are talking a lot about Baldur's Gate 3. That is probably going to be the majority of the podcast next week. Is going to be talking about our initial experiences on that game. So that should be fun.
Unless something terrible happens, not with the game, but just in general, that will be the focus.
Yeah, maybe a meteor hits the Earth. We don't know. I mean, that would probably take.
That would suck, because waiting so long for Baldur's Gate and then
Yeah, that would be the luck, though, wasn't it?
At least wait until I finish the game, please. After that, I'm fine with it. But anyway, see you.
All right, peace out. Bye. We'll see you next week.